the Pipiles, heirs of the sun and Mayan knowledge, in the west of what we know today as El Salvador. Between hills and rivers, there existed a land called Cuscatán. In this vast territory, the Pipil people guarded secrets inherited from the ancient Maya, although their language, Náwat, would vibrate with its own unique character, and among those secrets stood out an almost mythical element, the sacred fire, in the heart of Cuscatán, under the temples that face the rising sun. The ancient Pipil people preserved a wisdom that still resonates in the songs, the stones, and the ritual fire. Far from being an isolated culture, the Pipil people were heirs to the sacred science of the Toltecs and Mayans. The art of measuring time, the movement of the stars, and the energy of fire as a symbol of life and renewal. This documentary reveals the hidden links between Mesoamerica and the solar worldview that united the peoples. From Tula to Izalco, could the new fire lit by the Pipil people be the same one the Maya used to align their destiny with the cycles of the universe? The Pipil people and the hidden legacy of sacred fire invite us to rewrite the history of Cuscatán as part of the great lineage of ancestral knowledge of the continent. The ancient Pipil people were not an isolated people. They were guardians of the sacred fire and heirs to the knowledge of the Maya. From Cuscatán, his solar wisdom united the sky, the earth, and the spirit of America. In the early hours of dawn, when the mist still covers the western mountains and the distant song of a bird resonates among the Sivas and Kaolols, the land of Cuscatán rises. This is the ancient name that the Pipil people gave to their home, one of fertile valleys, volcanic foam coasts, and peaks where the sun seems to burn above the world. Here in the heart of what we know today as El Salvador, the temples and pyramids are rigorously oriented towards the east, witnesses to a civilization that saw in the golden light not only the beginning of the day, but the living gateway to the mystery of the universe. Pipil people emerge as bearers of an ancient lineage. From the stereotypes of a culture isolated in the shadowy confines of a distant world, the Pipil people were heirs and guardians of a wisdom that traveled from east to west, from north to south, following the paths opened by their Toltec and Mayan ancestors. Stories, codices, and carved stones. They tell us that their arrival was guided by celestial signs, an eclipse, the shape of a constellation, the alignment of Venus at dawn, the land of Cuscatán, extending from the Lempa River to the Pacific coast, from the volcanoes of Izalco and Santa Ana to the undulating border with Guatemala, was the scene of a prodigious encounter. Here, under the tutelary gaze of the solar gods and the rain deities, the Pipil people wove their daily lives with the subtle threads of time and astronomy. The calendar was their compass. Following in the footsteps of the Maya, the Pipil priests observed the movement of the stars and the cycles of the moon and the sun, calculating the auspicious days to sow corn, to celebrate the birth of a new cycle, or to light the new fire, their most sacred ceremony. The sacred fire, central to the Pipil worldview, was not only a symbol of light and heat, it was life itself, a spark that connected the material world with the invisible powers that govern existence, just as the Maya lit the new fire in cosmic rituals to restart the counting of days and ensure universal harmony. The Pipil people devoted themselves to this profound ceremony that sought to align the invisible forces of the universe with the history of their own people. The ceremony, according to the chronicles and stories that still survive among the descendants of Izalco and Izalco, took place in the temples of black quarry stone, on platforms where the sun rose punctually at the equinox. Two priests advanced carrying the first fire lit by the friction of fine woods, while the entire village waited in reverent silence. The elders chanted sacred songs in Náwat, and smoke rose in spirals, carrying ancient words to the sky. With this fire, the fields, the homes, and every step of the community's life cycle were blessed. This was the same fire that crossed the rituals of Chichen Itza and Copan, that traveled the vast network of Mayan roads, that sealed pacts under the shadow of the Toltec pyramids. The question still resonates vibrantly in the hearts of those who seek to decipher the secret unity that linked the Mesoamerican peoples. Archaeologists and ethno-historians repeatedly discover shared fragments, ceramic pieces decorated with solar glyphs, parallel narratives describing civilizing heroes such as Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan, prodigious mathematical measurements of time and space. Cuscatlán, the artistic and architectural legacy of the Pipil people, reveals patterns that engage with Mayan and Toltec art in the ceremonial centers of Tazumal, San Andres, Osahuatlán. The stepped platforms and the squares, aligned with the stars, suggest a shared knowledge, matured and adapted to the new territory. Jade and obsidian were not only symbols of wealth and power, they were material reminders of the time when people walked together under the same celestial vault. One of the most subtle threads of this Mayan heritage in Pipil lands is the persistence of the Náwat language. Ancient sounds full of meaning survived the arrival of the conquerors and the imposition of new gods, new customs, new laws. Many Nahuatl words still creep into the everyday Spanish of Central America. Each one is an echo of ancestral knowledge, ways of naming the world and invoking its vital forces. The Nahuatl language also preserves vestiges of that legacy. Many Nahuatl words came into Spanish during colonization and still resonate in everyday conversations. Words like elote, huacal, isote, coil, cacao, copal, tacomet, chelate, chuco, to name a few. Each term is a gateway to the past. Like hackle, that humble Moro container where our ancestors drank chocolate water or atole, while isote, the national flower of El Salvador, was and still is part of the diet. The Náwat language circulated in every corner of Cuscatlán, filtering into daily life and therefore into Spanish. Words like milpa, communal agricultural system, still endure today. Tamale wrapped in leaves and celebration. Pupusa, a filled dough, which became a national symbol, and even chelate, the white drink made from corn and cacao, each a Pipil delegate. Other examples: corn on the cob, that ear of corn that becomes the star on so many Central American tables. Potate, the essential mat for resting, and tomato, a fundamental fruit in the diet and culture. All these words have the same origin, Nahuatl, which in turn inherits terms from Mayan and other Mesoamerican languages. The richness of Náwat goes far beyond this handful of words. It is a agglutinative language capable of forming new meanings by joining roots and suffixes. For example, Itzat literally means obsidian water, a reference to springs of pure, sparkling water. Another example, Netunal means the sun, referring to the star. But the Pipil legacy and the Mayan influence in Cuscatlán do not only live in material objects or in everyday words, they breathe in the stories passed down from generation to generation about the origin of fire, about the solar dance, about the sacred mountain where the memory of the people rests. When the Spaniards arrived, they tried to extinguish that fire, but they were unable to completely erase its trace. In popular speech, more words were hidden in zapote, the juicy fruit, the swamp reed. All of them, whether borrowed from Spanish or transformed by it, continue to recall their Nahuatl origin. They serve as small windows into a past where every syllable had power. The connection with the sacred fire is also a call to perpetual renewal. Like the Maya, the Pipil understood that the true greatness of a civilization lies in its ability to align itself with the invisible laws of the cosmos, the cycles of the rains, the movements of the stars, the energy that flows from the heart of the earth to the forehead of every human being. In each cycle of the new fire, the people renewed their pact with the universal order, giving thanks for the gifts received and asking for strength to face the shadows of the future. The stories of the elders of Cuscaton tell that when the sacred fire was lit, the air was filled with an ancient perfume, a mixture of copal and green leaves. The people danced in a circle, repeating words that only the oldest among them could decipher, words capable of opening doors between here and the hereafter, between visible life and the secret current of spirits. The Pipil people knew they were part of the great tapestry of America, custodians of a knowledge that had traveled from Teotihuacan and Tula to their own plazas and fields. The presence of the Mayan heritage is also tangible in the community structure, the organization of the calpulas, and the modes of governance. Pipil leaders, known as Tatars, exercised their power as mediators between the people, the land, and the gods, in the same way that Mayan priests interpreted the signs of the sky to mark the destiny of the community. Every vital decision, the Council of Wise Men consulted the calendars, the obsidian stones, and the stars, always seeking the balance between human order and cosmic order. For centuries, the sacred fire burned silently, resisting the storms of conquest and colonization. Many of their rituals had to be hidden at night under the coded language of dances and songs disguised in the Christian festivities that the Spanish established to break the original memory. However, fire never went out completely. Among the folds of time, the peoples of Isalco, Punchamalco, and Nausalco preserved the flame, transmitting it as a sacred secret from parents to children, as a pact of root and horizon. Today, as we search for the traces of the Pipil people and their sacred fire, we walk on the burning ashes of a living memory, the prayer leaders and healers. Some still speaking Nahuatl in whispers, keep alive the wisdom of ancient times, the connection between fire and life, between the word and creation, between man and the universe. Archaeological remains of Tasumal and the legends of Isalco are not silent tombs, they are chests that hold the golden vibration of the sun that the Pipil people venerated. Each carved stone, each fire symbol, and each inherited word reveals a missing link, a profound dialogue with the Maya, Toltecs, and all the peoples who learned to read the secret pulse of the stars. It is possible that the new fire lit by the Pipil people synchronized with the solar cycles and the Mayan calendrical counts, was the same fire that fueled the hopes of an entire continent. May the echoes of this flame still resonate in peasant rituals, in the ritual dances of corn, in the way of naming things, in the way of looking at the sky seeking answers. Cuscaton, land of living volcanoes and burning hearts, invites us today to rediscover and honor that hidden legacy of sacred fire. Their heritage is not just the patrimony of a small country, but an essential part of the great spiritual lineage of America. In this fire lives the memory of all those who sought from the first hours of dawn to align their destiny with the forces of the sun, the earth, and the spirit. May the flame that the Pipil people lit under the skies of Cuscaton never be extinguished. May its light continue to show paths to understanding ourselves as heirs to a greater wisdom, one that unites time, the movement of the stars, and the vital energy of the sacred fire, still pulsating in the heart of our continent. If you enjoyed this documentary, please give us a like, ring the bell, and subscribe to Let's Rewrite Our History.